and welcome to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner. And with us today is Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Melinda Boone, who is going to help us kick off this new school year. Welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you for having me.
And as we begin this new school year, what are you most excited about?
The fact that it's a new year, the new faces, the new opportunities to reconnect with people. It's our second new year in a year. We have the calendar new year in January, but this is a brand new beginning.
Sounds exciting, and we want to know, what are at least 3 things that we should look forward to this upcoming school year?
Oh, you're limiting me to 3.
3.
So let me think about it. We have a chance to begin to celebrate our accomplishments from last year. We the state has released the SOL scores, and we certainly saw progress in Norfolk Public Schools, particularly in our literacy efforts. We have a focus in our redesign of leadership, literacy, and rigor, and we certainly saw the results reflecting that work that we've been doing in literacy. We're excited about the state releasing the SOL accreditation results September 13th, and there will be some very good news for Norfolk Public Schools. I can't release it ahead of that, but do know we are certainly showing real progress. We are also in the midst of the educational planning work that we're doing with cooperative strategies. A lot of people who followed Norfolk Public Schools the last several years may have heard the work we were doing with DeJean Richter. And what we're doing is making sense out of how we utilize our school buildings given our enrollment. What are some program opportunities we have with the buildings that we have? And how does that look and feel for our students across the district? We're moving into the phase where there's a community group that the board has done some appointments to. As superintendent, I've appointed some folks to serve on that commission. And so they'll be coming together to begin to think about the work that we're doing as we move into a late fall presentation to the school board. And you said just 3. So the third one is on the first day of school, we will recognize all across the city a number of what I could like to call our new yellow limousines. We are putting a number of new buses on the road, the goal of replacing our older buses in the fleet. And I do have to thank the city manager and the city council and the mayor for supporting advancing our funding for bus replacement this year so that we could take advantage of an Environmental Protection Agency grant that will allow us to get a couple of additional buses too.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are 3 great things. You may think of a 4th, I'm sure. But when school ends in June, people think we go into a slow period, but we both know that's not the case for the school district at all. So tell us, what's been happening over this summer?
Wow, this has been the fastest summer that we've seen. We've talked about it amongst the staff, the team members and everything, and trying to figure out what's different this summer. And yet we realize it's the energy around the work that we're doing. And so we've spent the summer refreshing our curriculum, implementing a very strong professional development plan for not just our teachers, but our leaders, for our support staff. We certainly use this time to refresh our buildings, to do the major cleaning of buildings, and we've undertaken this summer a major refresh of Booker T. Washington High School interior work. There's lots of interior work and exterior work, and there's still some long-term work that's there, and that's exactly some of the information that we'll learn through that report from Cooperative Strategies in terms of the conditions of our buildings. But then we also have our very strong Leadership Institute, where we begin to think about how do we lead in this district for success.
Speaking of Leadership Institute, we held one this summer. So talk about that and what the purpose for that was.
One of my favorite times of the year is when we bring together all of the principals, assistant principals, and central office administrators to focus on how we lead for success. And so this summer was no different. And we had a very, very exciting 2 days where we brought everybody together, over 150 people, just to think about leadership. And we learned about the practices that the principals were employing in their buildings for success. We learned about how central office partners and support schools, and how all of that comes together with some great synergy. And you know, each year we're a learning district, And each year we introduce something to read. And this year we introduced Gordon's Energy Bus. And what an exciting time. And so we've heard a lot about that from the staff as the concepts of the energy bus have just permeated throughout the district now that teachers and others have returned.
And you did an exciting intro for that Leadership Institute. Tell us about that bus ride.
Well, the story in the energy bus focuses on one of the main characters is a bus driver of a public bus, and how she's been able to, over time, to draw passengers into this positive thinking, this positive energy. So one of my goals has always been to sit behind the wheel of a big yellow limousine, of a school bus. And so with the support of transportation and a couple of their wonderful drivers and trainers, I was able to drive around this city on a yellow limousine and then enter into the meeting space with everyone, having just exited that bus. So it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of awesome energy in the room, and it was interesting. Each table had to create their own energy bus.
Yes.
And they had a competition, so I really think you gathered them around that concept of the energy bus.
Well, they had to thank a team. I didn't put it together solely. I certainly embraced and endorsed the concept, and so the folks in academic affairs, Kip Rogers, Jackie Chavis, and all of that planning team really put it together. And throughout the year, if you have an opportunity to visit our central administration building, you'll have a chance to see those buses that each table, each group put together over those 2 days. The winning bus is in my office.
Oh, wow. We have to see which one that was.
Absolutely.
Well, in addition to that, you also recently held a field day for all, approximately 5,000 employees?
Yes.
What was that day like?
I tried not to become emotional that day because a vision I'd had since returning to the district was finding a way to say thank you to all who make it happen each and every day for our nearly 30,000 students. And this year we were able to pull it off by having all employees participate in a field day, very traditional field day at Lake Taylor High School. And we had games and activities. We had an obstacle course that the military supported us in making happen. We had bingo. We had a dunk tank where the chairman of our school board volunteered to be dunked, as well as Dr. Kim Gray, one of our executive directors of elementary schools. And we've had kickball, volleyball. We even had a paint corner.
Oh, I bet
so
that was
you
fun.
think about paint nights to do. We had a paint day. And what I've heard from the staff is what a great way just to celebrate them. We didn't talk test scores or accreditation or budget. We simply said, we have to pay attention to those of us who are responsible for taking care of those babies all through the year. And this is our way of saying thank you. And it was so important to me because Norfolk had been through a lot. And I wanted to show we are now at a stable place. And we can begin to exhale and focus even more on what we're doing. And it wasn't just what we did for ourselves. We also had a blood drive. And we met or exceeded our goals for blood donations that day as part of the field day. And certainly we had lunch. We had sponsors that made this happen for us.
So who were some of our sponsors?
Oh, wonderful sponsors. Certainly we'll have to say Miss Sheila at A. May's and Soul Food Restaurant provided lunch for the 5,000 people. We had AFLAC. We had the MacArthur Center Mall, RRMM Architects, the Norfolk Education Foundation, and the list goes on and on. But these partners and sponsors came and said, hey, we want to help you celebrate the fine people of Norfolk Public Schools. So it was a great day. And to see each school and department come with their own t-shirts or their own colors. And a lot of people said, you know, this felt like a family reunion. People I hadn't seen in a long time, people I used to work with and thought had left the district and they're here. And so they really reconnected, and we hear the buzz about ideas for next year's field day. So I don't think we're off the hook for planning for next year.
That was going to be my next question. What are we planning for next year?
Well, we've had a debrief from that day, and we learned a lot about great ways to do this. And so I think we're going to start planning for next year.
And you spoke earlier in other interviews and conversations about the NPS Redesign initiative. Let's share with our audience, our parents, and the community just what that is, because that's shaping our work this year.
It really has. It has started shaping our work, and we're seeing that. The state uses a term of improvement, and that means getting to a certain number. Other entities think about turnaround, and that means going away from where you are to get a different set of outcomes. And for me, as I've thought about the work in Norfolk Public Schools, it's not just about chasing 70% pass rate on SOLs, because that's not good enough for us, and it's not good enough for the school board, as you see through the metrics in their accountability plan. But it was also about how do we think differently around how do we lead, how do we have an effective organization? And so that's about redesigning. And that's not only from posters and sayings that you see around the district, but it's also about the mindset and how we do work to be more effective. So we introduced last year the NPS Redesign, hashtag NPS Redesign. And we have 3 focus areas: leadership, which we've talked about, and how we do that with the Summer Leadership Institute and with our leaders throughout the year; literacy, our strong focus on how do we improve reading, writing, comprehension skills for all of our students in order to front load success in all of the content; and the third area is rigor, meaning how we're not teaching for the test or to the test, but how we're teaching in high-level ways and challenging the thinking of our students such that they are connecting concepts and ideas to be ready for the future. And a sneak peek into the work that we'll be developing for this year, so we've introduced a 4th gear in that redesign, and that's innovation. Because see, I don't believe that we have to wait until all of our schools are fully accredited until we start making sure and showcasing the very innovative work that we have going on in our schools. So it's exciting.
And this leads to my next question is, how are we offering rigor to our students?
Rigor is about what we teach and how we teach it. You know, I'm a firm believer that if we introduce a strong curriculum and have very strong teaching practices and support our students and adults, the teachers and the principals and others who provide direct instruction, then we'll get the results that we need for SOL accreditation or achievement rates. Rigor is not something that's for some students, it's for all students. A great example is we hear a number of students, perhaps in schools that haven't been successful, of needing remediation or intervention to help them be successful. And that's true. We all have areas to grow in places. You know, I love the arts, but I would always need support to do some presentable artistic work. So our students and our adults are the same way. And when we think about rigor, we say we introduce the concept as it is, and then we support students being able to grasp those concepts in a way that it adds meaning to them and they can use it as they connect to other learning. And so rigor is about how we ought to deliver, not because a student is this or that, or whether people perceive a student as this or that. But it really is about how do we bring the strong knowledge to the students. And when we do that well, we create that excitement about learning. We create the interest in wanting to know what are the next steps in learning. And so rigor is about not taking it to a lower level just to make sure we pass the test. But it's about preparing our students as lifelong learners.
It's teaching and learning for all.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Teaching and learning for all. So do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our parents, our students, and even our staff?
Well, I did think about that 4th item before I share some other thoughts. We're embarking this year on a pilot program for our comprehensive career and technical education high school. This is something that Norfolk Public Schools has been very interested in for at least the last 5-6 years. I was very fortunate when I was superintendent in Worcester that there were a number of teams of folks who came to see the comprehensive Worcester Technical High School that I had there in Worcester. And so this fall we are piloting in our technology strand and pathway the work that will lead to this opening of this comprehensive CTE school in the fall of 2018, where all students will have made a choice to attend that school and to get a connection to college and careers and pathways to what this workforce in this region is needing. and how we prepare our students for those very successful jobs. Some that students will be able to leave high school with those industry credentials and certifications, and others will use it as a springboard to college, into engineering, to other STEM fields or the health careers. And business and opportunities. We are very, very excited. So next year this time, we'll really be talking about how we've introduced this new comprehensive career and technical ed high school. We're excited with our partnership with the Greater Norfolk Corporation and others in the community to kick this off.
Now that is good news for our parents, our students, and the
is.
business community that we're connected with.
Absolutely. We're continuing to increase our choice options for our parents and students in this community based on interests and focus areas that this workforce, the region and the nation are saying that they need, as well as our connections with higher education in the business community.
So what are some of your final thoughts now?
There are so many great things that are happening in Norfolk Public Schools. We're excited. The energy is here. The results are beginning to mirror the energy. And we're in a really great place for sustained and long-term success. We see ourselves rising. We really do see ourselves rising, and it's not just because I'm saying it as superintendent. The results are there, and we just look forward to continuing to partner with our parents who have options for their children, and they've chosen Norfolk Public Schools. So to our parents, we say thank you, and believe you me, we're going to take good care of your children, and we're going to have great results in education for this community.
Well, we are excited, and they see your excitement as of today as we embark upon a new school year. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now. Welcome back to NPS Now. With us today is Anthony Walker, and he is our Director of Safety and Security for Norfolk Public Schools.
Yes.
Welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you. Glad to be here this morning.
Well, we just had Dr. Boone on the show, and she talked about the energy bus, and you've been with us, and so now you've changed your seat on the energy bus.
Absolutely, and a very, very happy passenger. So I'm glad to be part of the energy bus in the district.
So tell us about your first seat and now what you've shifted into.
Well, actually, Karen, I was with the district in a part-time capacity as the investigator for the school district. And in that role, the responsibilities I had was to investigate issues involving students and adult staff members and the like. So in that role, I stayed in that part-time position for about a year, year and a half. And the opportunity for the Director for Safety and Security came about, and again, I applied. And I'm very happy to say that they saw fit to select me, so I'm glad to be here.
So tell us about your new role. What does that entail?
Well, actually, in this position, I'm developing crisis plans and really continuity within the district as it involves safety and security. In the continuity, I'll be working with all the different areas of the district, everything from security to risk management, facilities, working with media to develop continuity plans and crisis plans, and being a part of the safety of our entire school district. That has been informed to me and shown to me through the superintendent is a very high concern that we maintain a level of safety and security throughout the district.
And that is important. So let's tell our parents and viewers at home a little bit about your background before coming to Norfolk Public Schools.
Well, yeah, gladly. Well, my background, Karen, I was a Norfolk police officer for over 20 years. And in that role, I worked in areas of narcotics, investigations, patrol. And after leaving the Norfolk Police Department, I worked over at Norfolk State University, where I eventually became the police chief. And in the role of police chief there, I was part of building a team involving campus safety, working with parents and students, and developing all kinds of strategies to keep a very large urban campus safe. So I'm glad to say that in that role, it really has the same look that I'm providing here for the district. And after leaving Norfolk State, I actually ended up working a couple of part-time jobs, one of which I was supporting the city of Norfolk and working with their recruitment, doing background investigations for new police recruits and supporting the chief in his minority hiring plan. And at that time, I was also working here as a school investigator. So my whole career for the past 35 years has been in the area of law enforcement.
So you come highly qualified to us.
Well, I would hope, and I do
Yes.
think the experience, and the fact that I'm a native of Norfolk, I'm a product of Norfolk Public Schools. My children were products of Norfolk Public Schools, and it's really, I am very much, as much pleased by this opportunity as I was with Norfolk State, because even at Norfolk State I was a graduate. So I have been very fortunate to work in an arena where I have been a product of, as well as my family, friends, to be community oriented. And in this role as a director for safety and security, I'm going to have to work with external partners. And I've already established quite a few great relationships, both locally and globally, in the area of safety and security.
So what are some other things, because that's a great segue to what I was going to ask, do you plan to accomplish here with Norfolk Public Schools in your new role?
Well, really what I plan to accomplish, first of all, there's a template set, and the template set is by Dr. Boone, which is the priority of safety and security. In that role, my focus will be on implementing, as I said earlier, plans and crisis management plans that we work together. The agencies that I have worked for in the past, such as the police department and Norfolk State, I had an opportunity to create the security plan for Norfolk State. And in that plan, it has the same look that we're going to develop here. And that plan is to make sure that we have a cohesive response to any kind of crises or concerns that we have. I'm a strong advocate of prevention. A lot of times in law enforcement you hear proactive. I'm not a strong advocate of proactive as I am in prevention. I like to bring my partners in within the district to support me in preventing issues of safety and security. That we take a real strong look at what we need to look at in order to make sure that our students are safe. We take a strong look at being open and spongent to the ideas of outside people helping us, advocates within the community to come out and help us in all areas of our efforts. So I'm already reaching out to our outside constituents, from the police department to NHRA support as well. I just spoke to someone in that area as well. On our internal partners, as I mentioned before, talking with our athletic director, talk with our director for facilities, and our other constituents, and especially in the area of communication. The one voice policy, I'm a strong advocate in the belief that there's one voice, and that when we do have a crisis or an incident, that the team and our communication team, which you're a part of, that we clearly give you information so informed decisions can be made by the superintendent. We're making decisions on school closings and things such as that, as well as any crisis that we may have, that we have a clear channel that all of our constituents internally are working together to provide communication with the information they need in order to make a one voice.
Right, and these communication management plans, you turned them into the state, but how will they vary from school to school? Are they all the same, like on elementary and secondary level?
They're all the same. There are some variations because in our school district we have security staff. We have 50 members of our security staff as far as, and we have a security coordinator who is Miss Renee Parker. So in the secondary schools we have SROs. There are Norfolk police officers who work in those areas. In our elementary schools we don't have that. We don't have a police officer. So there's some changes based on the level of the schools, meaning secondary to elementary.
Right. So what type of training are your security officers going through?
Well, thanks for asking that, because currently we are having training, and they're trained in every aspect of school security. The Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services has mandated certain levels of training, 32 hours of training that they have to receive annually. And they are currently in that session now, in that 32 hours. Within that, they're being trained on everything from how to deal with diversity, where it's not just a hands-on, where they know how to de-escalate a situation by speaking and talking and engaging themselves in a way to support. They understand the fact that they have to be student-friendly. that regardless of what is happening in their worlds, that they have to understand that the big picture is to develop a relationship with the students and to provide an opportunity for those students to work with them as well. So on the scale of what it looks like for security across the nation, those kinds of things are being taught. But I think we add an added advantage to our security officers by teaching them the relationship building types of things that we need to have in our schools.
And that is important, and we're glad that you're in this role.
Right, thank you.
From the investigator to now running the safety and security of our school district. So thank you for coming on the show, letting folks learn who you are up close and personal.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And I know we're going to have a great school year.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes.
And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS, Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you have any great story ideas or information you'd like to share, email us at nps_news@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.